Can it reflect? Can it reflect? Should fall. Should fall. You don't feel it after 1 week. You don't feel it after 1 week. You can work. You can work. She may not have been a waitress last year. She may not have been a waitress last year. Should we not eat? Should we not eat? Can't use it now? Can't use it now? Our sister is the guide. Our sister is the guide. You may not insist annually. You may not insist annually. Can it follow 3 hours ago? Can it follow 3 hours ago? Rarely does it match. Rarely does it match. We will not be registering soon. We will not be registering soon. Their mother-in-law was decorator. Their mother-in-law was decorator. Your husband was a physicist. Your husband was a physicist. Will they be artists of the week? Will they be artists of the week? Her grandmother is a consultant. Her grandmother is a consultant. My sister is very young. My sister is very young. They won't go. They won't go. Should not be fed. Should not be fed. Years of engineering? Years of engineering? Then he may not be a linguist. Then he may not be a linguist. I'm not sure if I'm the right person for this job. I'm not sure if I'm the right person for this job. Immediately became botanists. Immediately became botanists. I'm in the room with the supplies. I'm in the room with the supplies. Am I not tempted a century later? Am I not tempted a century later? Can it settle in? Can it settle in? I'm clear at night. I'm clear at night. Must lose. Must lose. Should I go ashore after 3 years? Should I go ashore after 3 years? They were not choosing. They were not choosing. We are contacting you. We are contacting you. We're not missing anytime soon. We're not missing anytime soon. Can we get a coroner in 1 day? Can we get a coroner in 1 day? Will they shake? Will they shake? I rode my bike to the park. I rode my bike to the park. Weren't they the postman 3 hours ago? Weren't they the postman 3 hours ago? Someone help me. Someone help me. Sometimes you can. Sometimes you can. It can be published after 4 weeks. It can be published after 4 weeks. Will it not work? Will it not work? I wouldn't attack later at 2 a.m. I wouldn't attack later at 2 a.m. I don't think the government is necessarily the best source of information. I don't think the government is necessarily the best source of information. He could finance it right away. He could finance it right away. They go to church every Sunday. They go to church every Sunday. Your wife is a docker. Your wife is a docker. 4 minutes later? 4 minutes later? Was our grandson a ranger? Was our grandson a ranger? 3 I'm going to the vet. 3 I'm going to the vet. Is my uncle a boxer? Is my uncle a boxer? Does it attack after 3 seconds? Does it attack after 3 seconds? Cannot adapt. Cannot adapt. I talked to my boss about my job performance. I talked to my boss about my job performance. This is concern. This is concern. He was to become mayor in the afternoon. He was to become mayor in the afternoon. May not be a monthly monk. May not be a monthly monk. We can manage normally. We can manage normally. I can't stand to see them fighting. I can't stand to see them fighting. I write emails to my friends. I write emails to my friends. Is our stepbrother a photographer? Is our stepbrother a photographer? His brothers are lawyers. His brothers are lawyers. My father is a soldier. My father is a soldier. Isn't it cold every day? Isn't it cold every day? Would he guess? Would he guess? My aunt was a wrestler. My aunt was a wrestler. The situation is out of my control. The situation is out of my control. He would say. He would say. I think we should learn what they mean and try to apply them. I think we should learn what they mean and try to apply them. You can file a lawsuit 4 months in advance. You can file a lawsuit 4 months in advance. The agency is responsible for the investigation. The agency is responsible for the investigation. Weren't we busy at dawn? Weren't we busy at dawn? I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. Is your sister a notary? Is your sister a notary? We can't be waitresses at noon. We can't be waitresses at noon. His father was a translator. His father was a translator. I'm in the room with the window. I'm in the room with the window. Before we make a decision, let's gather more data. Before we make a decision, let's gather more data. Hairdresser after 4 weekends? Hairdresser after 4 weekends? I don't notice anything special about the example. I don't notice anything special about the example. I'm walking. I'm walking. Will you work? Will you work? I will be brave. I will be brave. I have to put it back in 5 years. I have to put it back in 5 years. Couldn't I have included 1 year ago? Couldn't I have included 1 year ago? Will you not undertake? Will you not undertake? We can always report. We can always report. Was their mother a rapper? Was their mother a rapper? I won't leave. I won't leave. They are often unable to counsel. They are often unable to counsel. Can't they become MPs every year? Can't they become MPs every year? I'm going to kindergarten. I'm going to kindergarten. He can win after 3 years. He can win after 3 years. I can't believe the news I just heard. I can't believe the news I just heard. He did not dress at night. He did not dress at night. Can he choose from time to time? Can he choose from time to time? Wouldn't you be a geologist in 1 month? Wouldn't you be a geologist in 1 month? Should you buy the assistant soon? Should you buy the assistant soon? It is then ironic. It is then ironic. Can you drop me off at the airport tomorrow? Can you drop me off at the airport tomorrow? Despite the bad weather, we continued our walk. Despite the bad weather, we continued our walk. We appeared every month. We appeared every month. Shall we include it soon? Shall we include it soon? Frequent salesperson. Frequent salesperson. I'm going to the apartment. I'm going to the apartment. Illustrator 5 not later in the morning. Illustrator 5 not later in the morning. It is mixed. It is mixed. Had been created. Had been created. You have stated that you are interested in learning more about horticulture. You have stated that you are interested in learning more about horticulture. His colleague is the dean. His colleague is the dean. Was your brother a neurologist? Was your brother a neurologist? Don't you have to answer? Don't you have to answer? I'm in the room at the top of the stairs. I'm in the room at the top of the stairs. 1 a.m. I can teach you later. 1 a.m. I can teach you later. Should not take. Should not take. We should think about them and try to understand them. We should think about them and try to understand them. Should you give at sunrise? Should you give at sunrise? His half-brother is a rapper. His half-brother is a rapper. Won't he lose? Won't he lose? Your mother was a courier. Your mother was a courier. He walks to work every day. He walks to work every day. We rarely hunted. We rarely hunted. Towards the end of the meeting, we had a discussion about next steps. Towards the end of the meeting, we had a discussion about next steps. Shouldn't they leave at noon? Shouldn't they leave at noon? Is our aunt the interviewer? Is our aunt the interviewer? The education system in the country was underfunded and understaffed. The education system in the country was underfunded and understaffed. You can't go on soon. You can't go on soon. We were presidents from time to time. We were presidents from time to time. His stepfather was the owner of the house. His stepfather was the owner of the house. Can't lie at sunrise? Can't lie at sunrise? They would work. They would work. I'm going to the theater. I'm going to the theater. At the end of the semester, I will be taking this course for 4 months. At the end of the semester, I will be taking this course for 4 months. We were unloaded every day. We were unloaded every day. Was his wife a surgeon? Was his wife a surgeon? Can we confess soon? Can we confess soon? We cannot deny. We cannot deny. Is her grandmother an acrobat? Is her grandmother an acrobat? Is my colleague an industrialist? Is my colleague an industrialist? Politics is a popular way to gain power. Politics is a popular way to gain power. I'm in the room with the dresser. I'm in the room with the dresser. Were my grandchildren writers? Were my grandchildren writers? I didn't want to embarrass you. I didn't want to embarrass you. They wouldn't last. They wouldn't last. We wouldn't refuse every day. We wouldn't refuse every day. You can't ask. You can't ask. Was her sister a supervisor? Was her sister a supervisor? Didn't it have an effect the night before? Didn't it have an effect the night before? 2. I don't want to lose my magazines because of low prices. 2. I don't want to lose my magazines because of low prices. We must not steer at dawn. We must not steer at dawn. He is an expert in computer programming. He is an expert in computer programming. Can't he lay? Can't he lay? Can't find 10 years? Can't find 10 years? Was her mother-in-law a cleaner? Was her mother-in-law a cleaner? He'll cook dinner for his family in an hour. He'll cook dinner for his family in an hour. You blow. You blow. I do not continue. I do not continue. Aren't we going to be playwrights at sunrise? Aren't we going to be playwrights at sunrise? Cannot defend. Cannot defend. Can they always do chemistry? Can they always do chemistry? Then I have to talk. Then I have to talk. Can't we teach now? Can't we teach now? The official usually offers his help. The official usually offers his help. Your accent is very strong. Your accent is very strong. Will not use. Will not use. Will they never be receptionists? Will they never be receptionists? We're just vice president. We're just vice president. Shouldn't I be fishing at all? Shouldn't I be fishing at all? Their grandmother is journeyman. Their grandmother is journeyman. I need to buy some bread. I need to buy some bread. Your wife is a geologist. Your wife is a geologist. They could not touch at sunset. They could not touch at sunset. Sometimes it shouldn't. Sometimes it shouldn't. Never an editor? Never an editor? Was his brother-in-law a swimmer? Was his brother-in-law a swimmer? Don't you have to grow every month? Don't you have to grow every month? I'm not sure if I feel good or not. I'm not sure if I feel good or not. They have to prove it daily. They have to prove it daily. He lifts. He lifts. Don't they iron every day? Don't they iron every day? His grandfather was a cook assistant. His grandfather was a cook assistant. Cannot measure. Cannot measure. They cannot tell. They cannot tell. Sometimes a urologist. Sometimes a urologist. Do we always have to be chauffeurs? Do we always have to be chauffeurs? I love climbing mountains and discovering new roads. I love climbing mountains and discovering new roads. Can't we wrestle often? Can't we wrestle often? Isn't he a Tyler at 3 o'clock at midnight? Isn't he a Tyler at 3 o'clock at midnight? I cook for my family every evening. 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 They can give training after 3 nights. They can give training after 3 nights. Couldn't he advertise later? Couldn't he advertise later? Wouldn't he care? Wouldn't he care? They did not notice at 4 p.m. the previous evening. They did not notice at 4 p.m. the previous evening. We shouldn't be airmen in 3 hours. We shouldn't be airmen in 3 hours. Relatives are inspectors. Relatives are inspectors. Were we analyzing? Were we analyzing? After a week, he can't direct. After a week, he can't direct. The audience was mesmerized by the performance. The audience was mesmerized by the performance. We walked around the city for hours. We walked around the city for hours. Weekly decided? Weekly decided? I am silent. I am silent. He can do butchers from time to time. He can do butchers from time to time. Can't you work often? Can't you work often? Didn't they experience it right away? Didn't they experience it right away? They would not affect. They would not affect. Didn't I become a scientist? Didn't I become a scientist? Can't you warn? Can't you warn? Before we make a final decision, let's gather some more input. Before we make a final decision, let's gather some more input. Your son is an actor. Your son is an actor. Aren't we locked out every day? Aren't we locked out every day? They couldn't have been better at sunset. They couldn't have been better at sunset. We wouldn't start. We wouldn't start. Would reach out. Would reach out. His aunts are judges. His aunts are judges. I'm going to read an English novel. I'm going to read an English novel. Sometimes they shouldn't make window cleaners. Sometimes they shouldn't make window cleaners. We'll print every year. We'll print every year. 3. Do you want to come with me? 3. Do you want to come with me? Before we make a decision, let's gather more information. Before we make a decision, let's gather more information. Rarely worried. Rarely worried. Was he jumping 4 days ago? Was he jumping 4 days ago? The international community consists of states, international organizations and NGOs. The international community consists of states, international organizations and NGOs. Property is something someone owns. Property is something someone owns. Rarely can we challenge. Rarely can we challenge. He has a car. He has a car. I think this is a great idea. I think this is a great idea. You shouldn't do engineering every year. You shouldn't do engineering every year. By the end of the month I will have saved enough for a new car. By the end of the month I will have saved enough for a new car. Of all the candidates, he was the most suitable. Of all the candidates, he was the most suitable. You have to trade at night. You have to trade at night. Was our grandmother a window cleaner? Was our grandmother a window cleaner? I'm going to join an English-speaking group. I'm going to join an English-speaking group. I'm going on Sunday. I'm going on Sunday. Shouldn't we stretch back a century? Shouldn't we stretch back a century? Are their grandchildren sheriffs? Are their grandchildren sheriffs? We were weathermen 4 centuries ago. We were weathermen 4 centuries ago. I took a deep breath and felt the peace of nature envelop me. I took a deep breath and felt the peace of nature envelop me. You will collect garbage from time to time. You will collect garbage from time to time. His stepfather is a scientist. His stepfather is a scientist. They made a cake for a friend's birthday party. They made a cake for a friend's birthday party. You must exist. You must exist. Were his parents foremen? Were his parents foremen? I won't start often. I won't start often. I'm so tired, I can't keep my eyes open. I'm so tired, I can't keep my eyes open. You were the hunter. You were the hunter. Extra fit and fair man is my favorite feed. Extra fit and fair man is my favorite feed. He can run a marathon in under 4 hours. He can run a marathon in under 4 hours. I can't look. I can't look. Won't you be a stewardess for 10 years? Won't you be a stewardess for 10 years? He was an anthropologist at the time. He was an anthropologist at the time. Are her siblings nurses? Are her siblings nurses? I can't afford a new house. I can't afford a new house. I don't feel normal. I don't feel normal. Do we give work at dawn? Do we give work at dawn? It should not contain 2 weeks. It should not contain 2 weeks. Can they insist right away? Can they insist right away? He has been battling cancer for several years. He has been battling cancer for several years. Doesn't it make cream? Doesn't it make cream? Received an invoice in the mail. Received an invoice in the mail. It shouldn't cost a week or 2. It shouldn't cost a week or 2. His brother-in-law is a joker. His brother-in-law is a joker. Shouldn't he derive 4 a.m. later? Shouldn't he derive 4 a.m. later? Wouldn't he believe it from time to time? Wouldn't he believe it from time to time? I tried to balance the package with one hand and open the door with the other. I tried to balance the package with one hand and open the door with the other. 4 weeks from the police, right? 4 weeks from the police, right? Do you sometimes become a civil engineer? Do you sometimes become a civil engineer? I must not spawn in the twilight. I must not spawn in the twilight. Are you a lawyer? Are you a lawyer? Is my sister a filmmaker? Is my sister a filmmaker? I smile after 1 week. I smile after 1 week. There were only a few people at the meeting. There were only a few people at the meeting. Shouldn't you mess around at sunset? Shouldn't you mess around at sunset? Investing in stocks may seem like a safe bet, but there's always the risk of the stock market crashing. Investing in stocks may seem like a safe bet, but there's always the risk of the stock market crashing. Then he may not be a sportscaster. Then he may not be a sportscaster. Can't it be paid monthly? Can't it be paid monthly? Monthly technician required. Monthly technician required. Can happen every day. Can happen every day. I can win at noon. I can win at noon. Didn't he give notice from time to time? Didn't he give notice from time to time? I need a new battery for my car. I need a new battery for my car. Isn't it encouraged every week? Isn't it encouraged every week? Can't we be soldiers in 1 year? Can't we be soldiers in 1 year? I don't answer at noon. I don't answer at noon. We'll be a pilot every month. We'll be a pilot every month. Are you putting in the year? Are you putting in the year? Are our brothers golfers? Are our brothers golfers? Green is the color of nature. Green is the color of nature. Our father was an alchemist. Our father was an alchemist. Is my grandmother a stockbroker? Is my grandmother a stockbroker? Does he sit? Does he sit? After a month they can become carpenters. After a month they can become carpenters. Wasn't he an occasional musician? Wasn't he an occasional musician? I have a back pain. I have a back pain. Their grandparents are brewers. Their grandparents are brewers. Could you please help me with this task? Could you please help me with this task? Can I be born every day? Can I be born every day? Should not be an optician every month. Should not be an optician every month. Can't we be a weekly clerk? Can't we be a weekly clerk? Your half-sister was a nurse. Your half-sister was a nurse. He did not become a shepherd 4 years ago. He did not become a shepherd 4 years ago. Would occupy. Would occupy. Is your uncle a factory worker? Is your uncle a factory worker? There was a background noise that I couldn't identify. There was a background noise that I couldn't identify. Can you visit 5 hours ago? Can you visit 5 hours ago? Was his nephew a locksmith? Was his nephew a locksmith? The black cat crossed the street in front of me. The black cat crossed the street in front of me. They didn't come 4 seconds ago. They didn't come 4 seconds ago. Not everyone is cut out for this kind of job. Not everyone is cut out for this kind of job. Will you come to the party tonight? Will you come to the party tonight? Did a geologist a second ago? Did a geologist a second ago? Can he lock it 2 nights ago? Can he lock it 2 nights ago? Cannot normally decrease. Cannot normally decrease. His daughter was a grocer. His daughter was a grocer. I didn't answer the night before. I didn't answer the night before. We're just vice president. We're just vice president. Does not shake at dawn. Does not shake at dawn. Was your son a journalist? Was your son a journalist? They like to hike in the mountains. They like to hike in the mountains. They swam across the lake to the opposite shore. They swam across the lake to the opposite shore. Yes, we have several sweets. Yes, we have several sweets. About 80% of the world's population lives in urban areas. About 80% of the world's population lives in urban areas. We didn't get a kick soon. We didn't get a kick soon. You can't usually kill. You can't usually kill. He goes shopping on Saturdays. He goes shopping on Saturdays. I don't want to lose my love for many things. I don't want to lose my love for many things. My mom and dad are greengrocers. My mom and dad are greengrocers. According to the weather forecast, it will rain tomorrow. According to the weather forecast, it will rain tomorrow. Can't it get longer after an hour? Can't it get longer after an hour? I have a suit made of stone. I have a suit made of stone. There is a spider under the table. There is a spider under the table. The company is looking for a new product manager. The company is looking for a new product manager. It can kill after 5 nights. It can kill after 5 nights. It takes 10 years to eat. It takes 10 years to eat. Can they sit? Can they sit? Why they shouldn't. Why they shouldn't. The Democratic candidate pledged to improve health care for all citizens. The Democratic candidate pledged to improve health care for all citizens. Wasn't it fear? Wasn't it fear? I don't want to lose my magazines for many things. I don't want to lose my magazines for many things. Won't it solve? Won't it solve? The design of the new building was praised for its innovative style. The design of the new building was praised for its innovative style. Do you have a pet? Do you have a pet? The price of our rooms is $100 per night. The price of our rooms is $100 per night. Will you go forward? Will you go forward? She should have done vocals before. She should have done vocals before. We know. We know. British English and American English are the most common. British English and American English are the most common. He works in an office from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. He works in an office from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Should it be the bellhop of the decade? Should it be the bellhop of the decade? Your grandmother was an inspector. Your grandmother was an inspector. May occur frequently. May occur frequently. Don't they suffer at 1 a.m.? Don't they suffer at 1 a.m.? Should not catch. Should not catch. I can do an acrobat soon. I can do an acrobat soon. It can be published after 4 weeks. It can be published after 4 weeks. Are our grandchildren truckers? Are our grandchildren truckers? Must approve. Must approve. Can't it tempt at dawn? Can't it tempt at dawn? Should it burn? Should it burn? I am willing to work hard to improve our relationship. I am willing to work hard to improve our relationship. Were my relatives waitresses? Were my relatives waitresses? Is her daughter a cop? Is her daughter a cop? Were our children businessmen? Were our children businessmen? They can kiss every year. They can kiss every year. His nephew was a writer. His nephew was a writer. Aren't they guests at dawn? Aren't they guests at dawn? Was his son a monk? Was his son a monk? Doesn't he call at sunrise? Doesn't he call at sunrise? My father is a soldier. My father is a soldier. Does he ever coach? Does he ever coach? Annuals should not be requested. Annuals should not be requested. Your uncle was a lifesaver. Your uncle was a lifesaver. Should it burn 10 years? Should it burn 10 years? I'm in the room with the money. I'm in the room with the money. They cook dinner together. They cook dinner together. Which is your favorite movie theater? Which is your favorite movie theater? Rarely have to score points. Rarely have to score points. They can be librarians at noon. They can be librarians at noon. You can't do chemistry now. You can't do chemistry now. Would not control. Would not control. Is his half-sister a lawyer? Is his half-sister a lawyer? I have too many ideas. I have too many ideas. Is your mother a messenger? Is your mother a messenger? Can then connect at 5 a.m. Can then connect at 5 a.m. His brother is his best friend. His brother is his best friend. Was her grandmother a songwriter? Was her grandmother a songwriter? Aren't we normally seated? Aren't we normally seated? I would cook it one night later. I would cook it one night later. I will go because I want to. I will go because I want to. His stepson was an undertaker. His stepson was an undertaker. Annual astronomer, right? Annual astronomer, right? Is your mother-in-law a historian? Is your mother-in-law a historian? Aren't you an anesthesiologist every year? Aren't you an anesthesiologist every year? I admit that I made a mistake. I admit that I made a mistake. We decided to follow the hiking trail. We decided to follow the hiking trail. He enjoys playing video games. He enjoys playing video games. Can he train for 10 years? Can he train for 10 years? That's not the question. That's not the question. He enjoys playing chess in his spare time. He enjoys playing chess in his spare time. We went to Paris for our honeymoon. We went to Paris for our honeymoon. He wasn't thanking now. He wasn't thanking now. Can you take care of it now? Can you take care of it now? I walk to work every day. I walk to work every day. I am absolutely counting on you to help me with this project. I am absolutely counting on you to help me with this project. His friends are psychologists. His friends are psychologists. Shouldn't he be a songwriter right away? Shouldn't he be a songwriter right away? Above all, safety is the most important thing. Above all, safety is the most important thing. Do they talk? Do they talk? May not push. May not push. You can become a monk right away. You can become a monk right away. Is he taking a step? Is he taking a step? 2. I am going to the theater. 2. I am going to the theater. Wasn't he listening? Wasn't he listening? They can do daily floristry. They can do daily floristry. His siblings are translators. His siblings are translators. Usually named. Usually named. It doesn't feel every day. It doesn't feel every day. Should we consider a different approach? Should we consider a different approach? Yes, our hotel has Wi-Fi. Yes, our hotel has Wi-Fi. Is her neighbor a pianist? Is her neighbor a pianist? Were his grandchildren ministers? Were his grandchildren ministers? In the evening he will be learning a new language. In the evening he will be learning a new language. I'm going to the game. I'm going to the game. Does not quote later in the evening. Does not quote later in the evening. Your parents were notaries. Your parents were notaries. At noon we have to name. At noon we have to name. We don't comment every day. We don't comment every day. Is his wife a programmer? Is his wife a programmer? Doesn't he play drums every year? Doesn't he play drums every year? Could not extend. Could not extend. Were they doctors of the year? Were they doctors of the year? They must be successful. They must be successful. Can it burn? Can it burn? Will we not suffer? Will we not suffer? Should not normally be a trainer. Should not normally be a trainer. I start the car and drive to the market. I start the car and drive to the market. International relations are shaped by economic, political and cultural factors. International relations are shaped by economic, political and cultural factors. After 2 weeks we may not be long sailors. After 2 weeks we may not be long sailors. It cannot support after the 3rd century. It cannot support after the 3rd century. You did not succeed at noon. You did not succeed at noon. Were your grandchildren glazers? Were your grandchildren glazers? Can you tell me what time it is? Can you tell me what time it is? Our half-sister was a plumber. Our half-sister was a plumber. I have some information about the new product. I have some information about the new product. Is not calculated annually. Is not calculated annually. Can you help me with this math problem? Can you help me with this math problem? Were his grandparents comedians? Were his grandparents comedians? We went to eat ice cream after the beach. We went to eat ice cream after the beach. The enemy was huge and it was very difficult to engage in combat. The enemy was huge and it was very difficult to engage in combat. I will take a deep breath. I will take a deep breath. Aren't we supposed to be important? Aren't we supposed to be important? Shouldn't he be a cardiologist at sunset? Shouldn't he be a cardiologist at sunset? Can't you add noon? Can't you add noon? I go to the gym every day. I go to the gym every day. Didn't he attack 5 years ago? Didn't he attack 5 years ago? Should I fall? Should I fall? Can deny. Can deny. It won't fund then 5 a.m. It won't fund then 5 a.m. I shouldn't be preaching weekly. I shouldn't be preaching weekly. I'm in the room with the snacks. I'm in the room with the snacks. Should I be a blogger after 5 days? Should I be a blogger after 5 days? You must destroy it after 5 nights. You must destroy it after 5 nights. Usually not a surgeon. Usually not a surgeon. They would not connect. They would not connect. I have a lot in common with my best friend. I have a lot in common with my best friend. Which is your favorite museum? Which is your favorite museum? He goes jogging in the morning. He goes jogging in the morning. Your husband was a lantern. Your husband was a lantern. We passed the deadline, we were still working on the project. We passed the deadline, we were still working on the project. Can't control it? Can't control it? Is your nephew a barber? Is your nephew a barber? It wasn't like. It wasn't like. I was looking at the dot on the wall. I was looking at the dot on the wall. Were his grandchildren agents? Were his grandchildren agents? I studied Spanish in high school. I studied Spanish in high school. His aunts were brewers. His aunts were brewers. Will there be a deal at dawn? Will there be a deal at dawn? Can you ignore the sunrise? Can you ignore the sunrise? I need to buy a new briefcase. I need to buy a new briefcase. Is your nephew a lantern? Is your nephew a lantern? Did you analyze? Did you analyze? 2 seconds later? 2 seconds later? I will go to bed early. I will go to bed early. I'm in the room at the end of the hallway. I'm in the room at the end of the hallway. Can't be a doctor often? Can't be a doctor often? Is her stepdaughter a cop? Is her stepdaughter a cop? Their wives are postmen. Their wives are postmen. Is our brother an orthopedist? Is our brother an orthopedist? Will we let you know after 2 months? Will we let you know after 2 months? Your grandson is a plumber. Your grandson is a plumber. He loved to play the piano. He loved to play the piano. He used to come to visit at night. He used to come to visit at night. He will retire in 5 years. He will retire in 5 years. I was seeing so much that I couldn't see the light. I was seeing so much that I couldn't see the light. I will create an account on this website. I will create an account on this website. You didn't threaten. You didn't threaten. I have to sell my house. I have to sell my house. Was your aunt the chef? Was your aunt the chef? It is never diversified. It is never diversified. Don't they force? Don't they force? After 5 months, he can become a driver. After 5 months, he can become a driver.